City of Pittsburgh City Commission meeting to order. If we would all stand for the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call Chaplain Pete Mayo up.
Thank you. I'd like to offer an invocation. Let us pray. Blessed are you, wise and loving Creator. We call upon you to join us this evening that we may have a productive meeting. May your peace and wisdom fill this room. Help us to communicate and build community. Lord, grant us wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, and grant us personal peace in our lives and joy in our tasks. We ask this in the name of all that each of us holds sacred. Amen. Amen. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thanks, Chaplain. All right, next order of business is small recognition on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh for the Sisters of St. Joseph in light of the recent transition or the ongoing transition from Ascension Via Christi to Mercy. I'd like to read this little certificate that we have for them. Not yet. On behalf of the City of Pittsburgh, we would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the legacy of the Sisters of St. Joseph and the foundation of healthcare provided to our community. Brought to Southeast Kansas to care for minors and their families, Mother Bernard Sheridan and her fellow nuns opened the Mount Carmel Hospital in 1903 in the north end of Pittsburgh. The sisters continued their healing mission, and as they outgrew their original hospital, in 1971 a community fundraising drive led to the construction of the new 5-story facility on the south end of town. In 2013, the sponsoring congregations of the Sisters of St. Joseph and the Sisters of Sorrowful Mother came together to form Via Christi Health System. The City of Pittsburgh and generations of citizens owe much to the early Sisters of St. Joseph of Wichita. Their selfless pioneering spirit and sacrifices were an important part of the early town's foundation. As we look forward to Mercy Healthcare System to continue the Catholic healthcare tradition, we would like to recognize and thank those who have walked in the footsteps of the Sisters of St. Joseph as the staff of our hospital. Dated this 27th day of August 2024, signed by all the city commissioners. If Pete Talbot and any members of your delegation would like to come forward and receive it. And Drew, while I got you up here, going a little bit out of order, I usually do the Pittsburgh Positive at the end of the meeting, but in recognition of your recent retirement and all the years of positivity that you brought to the community in your role as a proper CEO, is that right? Yeah, CEO of the hospital, and all the lives that you and all the staff at Via Christi and Mount Carmel before that touched. We'd just like to say thank you for bringing that positivity to Pittsburgh and serving so many people along the way. And how many years?
29 in January.
Yeah, 29.
I want 28.
Thank you very much.
Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and open the meeting up to public input at this point. If you have public input, please come forward, state your name, limit your comments to 3 minutes, your name and address, please, and then we'll start the timer for the 3 minute talk.
I'm gonna get it first. Jan A. Lai, I live at 1521 Hampton Road. I'd just like to know if, it's been 6 years now since Silverback, and I'd just like to know if we could get an update on the development out there. It doesn't seem to be progressing. And then last week in the paper, I noticed there were several, numerous back taxes on the lots out there. And I don't know all the particulars of if they're RHID, but originally, 6 years ago, when we started all this, I thought that before they had to have their back, they couldn't have back taxes before they could do some progress. And I don't, it just, it's at a standstill out there. Well, there's 3 or 4 houses that, 3 or 4, let me say, there's 4 houses that are under construction, but it's been that way for probably 8, 9 months now. Just like to know if there's an update, so that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I should have said, at the beginning of the public input, I'd like to just make it clear that the commission won't respond to public input until all public input's done. And then if we have time at the end of the meeting, if it's something that we can address, or if we can schedule a meeting with city management or the department heads or whoever it is that takes care of that, or if it's the commission, we can do that too. So I don't want anybody to think that we're not listening to you.
I understand that, I know
All right,
that.
I know you do. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm J.B. Elliott, Superintendent at Pittsburgh. Just wanted to stop in. Again, I'm 8 weeks on the job here almost. Just wanted to make sure that you have the ability to put the name with the face here. Also looking forward to working with all of you as we move forward in our partnerships. Had a chance to meet and work with some of you already. You know, Dawn, you've been on the Early Childhood Board and the Foundation, so appreciate that. Of course, Chuck, see you driving a bus for us, which I'll see you on Thursday and Friday, because I'll be driving one with you as well.
All right.
By the way, on that, if you know anyone interested in wanting to drive a school bus, we would love to have you. Please stop by the district office. We are very short-handed on that. So, and again, also, Darren, thanks. It's been nice to meet you, work with you and Jay too, and also Blake here in the front row. So, in any case, just want to stop in and say hello on that, and anything that we can do to help out or partner in any way, please let us know. All right?
Welcome, thank you.
Thanks a lot, JB.
Anyone else?
Sandra Main, 109 West 4th, Pittsburgh. I'm going to follow up a little bit about what we talked about last week, homelessness being the major concern I have. And we talked about the city doing everything they can. I have a couple of questions that I just would like for you guys to entertain. How do we increase enforcement of the existing laws and ordinance, like camping, public nuisance, the lower level theft? Because I'm hearing that police reports aren't getting created when it's low level theft, because they'll just get out when they get there. So that's a concern to me. Another concern I have is, what is this doing to our insurance rates? I know that we got a reduction in cost, the city did, because of the fire department a few years ago. And my property tax went up. My insurance for both my home and my car and my business have gone up. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the crime statistics going up currently. So if we could look into that, that would be great. City government, I'm wondering, how do you keep the records of the homeless in our community and audit Wesley House records? And the reason I ask that is because I have a person that is well respected in the community, and she is willing to be on the ground at Wesley House, talking to people, finding out where they're from, why they're here, and gathering that information, because we don't seem to be getting that information from anywhere else, and finding out, what can we do to make things better, and not be collecting so many people that aren't Crawford County citizens. She was willing to gather data and then present it to you and see what you wanted to do with it, if anything. She's a former KBI agent. I also asked that we find out how many parolees and ATC clients stay here to use our resources. To date, I have found 9 sex offenders who are reported homeless And that would mean they're non-compliant because they have no address. So if we're looking for them, we can't find them. I also looked on the KBI website. The non-compliant list is 9. None of those 7 were on that list. So now that means there's 16. And finally, I have knowledge of a person who was in prison for 50 years. Yes, I said 50. He kidnapped a 7-year-old child, attempted to kill her by throwing her in a river. Thankfully, she could swim and get to safety. Her bravery is the reason he was prosecuted. He was recently released to Crawford County from Sedgwick County. He isn't registered because there weren't those laws in 1973. How come we are accepting this in our community? Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public input. Move on to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion, or I guess first of all, I believe Cheryl would like to pull item K off, is that correct?
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve items A through J.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, all those in favor?
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNay? Yes. Mansell?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Okay, A through J passed. And moving on to item K, approval of appropriation ordinance for the period ending August 27th, 2024, subject to the release of HUD expenditures when funds are received.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, roll call?
Brooks?
Height,
Yes.
McNay,
Yes.
Mansell,
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
All right. Motion carried. Special presentation, summer reading program summary. Pittsburgh Public Library Director Bev Clarkson will provide a summary of the summer reading program. Hi, Bev.
Hello Mayor, City Commissioners, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Bev Clarkson, Director of the Pittsburgh Public Library. As I do each year, I'd like to present a recap of the library's summer reading programs. Summer is our favorite time of year at the library. It's also our busiest time of year. We offer a variety of summer reading programs for all ages of kids, teens, and adults. The national theme for summer reading programs this year was Adventure Begins at Your Library. And I'm happy to announce that over 750 kids and teens signed up for the summer reading program at the library, and they read a total of 15,082 books and earned 1,722 reading incentives, including swim passes to the aquatic center and prizes from our special prize hat. Our storytime programs are held on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and our early literacy programs geared towards kids ages 6 and under, but really everyone enjoys storytime. Storytimes were held in Lincoln Park in June, and we had summer school classes that bust the kids in, and we had a lot of kids. And often we had over 250 participants at each program in the park. And during the hot weather of July, we moved back to the library. Our storytime programs featured a different library adventure each week, including stories and skits and puppet shows and songs. Kids panned for gold. They enjoyed our annual homemade ice cream party in the library courtyard, and we ended with a fun Where's Waldo themed scavenger hunt. Storytime kids also took home a specially themed craft each week. The library produced and handed out over 2,400 take-home craft kits this summer, just for Storytime alone. We offered a new program this year called Elementary Explorers for kids in the 1st through 5th grade. We held these on Thursdays, twice a week, and we offered programs featuring campfire tales. We had science programs where we made and experimented with straw rockets courtesy of Pittsco. We had programs on history and art, plus special presenters like the Nutty Professor of Science program and the Sedgwick County Zoo. These programs were designed to both have learning and fun. For the 3rd straight year, teen programs were held each week at Root Coffee House in June, and these programs at Root are a big hit with the teens. So many thanks to Brad and Andrea and everyone at Root for this partnership. The programs at Root included meme bingo, trivia, book swaps, game nights. Programs moved back to the library in July for video game nights, movie nights, and crafts. Teen volunteers, which we call volunteens, met on Tuesday each week, and 41 teens donated 118 hours of service to the library this summer. We offered Maker Monday programs for ages 10 through 18, and these offered a STEM-based craft project each week. We didn't forget the adults. They had their own summer reading program using the Adventure Begins theme. Adults had craft programs, book discussions. We partnered with K-State for a gardening program. We held a mindfulness walk at the beautiful PSU Lake, partnering with CHC Behavioral Health and Pitt State Library Services. And our grand finale was a very popular community sing-along program. We also offered special family events. We brought in the Stone Lion Puppet Theater from Kansas City for a performance at Memorial Auditorium. We had Marty the Magician from Branson and juggler Brian Windling from Kansas City performing at St. John's Activity Center. So a big thank you to St. John's for allowing us to use their building. Overall, the library offered 100 free programs this summer, with 9,188 community members participating. Additionally, each child in our summer reading program received a free book of their choice. So I really want to thank the City of Pittsburgh, especially Parks and Rec, for donating the swim passes as reading incentives and for sharing Lincoln Park and Memorial Auditorium with us. I want to give a special thank you to our community partners, USD 250, K-State Extension, Community Health, Pittsburgh State University, Pittsco Education, Root Coffee House, and St. John's Activity Center for enriching our programs. We can accomplish so much more when we work together with our community partners. And as always, a tremendous thank you to our Friends of the Library volunteers. The Friends group pays for all of our summer reading programs through proceeds of their book sales. They make a tremendous difference to our library and what we can offer the community. And let me take a moment to remind everyone that the Friends will host their annual Labor Day book sale this Saturday, August 31st, from 8 a.m. to noon. It will be held outdoors in the library courtyard, which is right on the south side of the library. And we have literally tons of books to sell, and most are 50 cents or $1. And we have a lot of kids' books this year. So come a Saturday and shop for a good cause. Finally, and most importantly, I would like to thank the Pittsburgh community, all the parents, all the grandparents, all the teachers, all the child care providers for bringing their kids to the library. We have such tremendous support from our community, and I want to know everyone to know how truly appreciative and thankful we are for that support. We know words can't tell the whole story, so as we do each year, we put together a little video showcasing some of our programs. So here's our 8-week summer reading program in under 4.5 minutes. Thank you for your time tonight.
Beth, thank you as always for everything you and all the library staff do for the community, the youth, and the adults year-round, but especially in the summer to keep reading fun and learning fun throughout the summer months, which frankly I think a lot of youth kind of take those 3 months off and maybe get away from it, but thank you for giving them opportunity to have that reading challenge and opportunity.
All right, thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
All right, move into public hearing and public meeting. We've kind of been talking about this and hearing about it for a number of years since I was elected, like 21 or 20, whatever it was. Item A is loan application, wastewater treatment plant improvements project. The city of Pittsburgh advertised for a public hearing and then a public meeting to be held on Tuesday, August 27, 2024 at 5:30 PM in the city commission room in the Law Enforcement Center, 201 North Pine, for the purpose of proceeding with a loan application in the anticipated amount of $45 million to finance proposed improvements for the Pittsburgh wastewater treatment plant through the Kansas Water Pollution Control Revolving Funds Assistance Program, administered by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, KDH&E. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So, a little backstory on this. Originally, when we came forward, we brought a loan that was for the total project. However, as things progressed, there's multiple factors because in other municipalities, the size of the plant, Sugar Creek being our largest supplier, and so some of those questions couldn't be answered and we're still moving forward. So at that time, we separated out the loan into an engineering and inspection part of it, and then broke out, and KDHE allowed us to move forward, and then broke it into the construction value of the loan separately. Today, we're a couple rounds of comments back to KDHE, and we continue to get closer and closer to actually moving forward on bidding the project itself. But we do need to step back and ask for the actual construction part of this loan. Now is what we're asking for tonight, separate from the engineering that we did moving forward on that part of the loan. So,
Okay.
So what's the total on this, if you include the engineering, et cetera?
so what we're asking for with the engineering, you're looking at a $50 million project, because that was originally around $5 million on the engineering and engineering inspection. They didn't do, so you have the design engineering plus the engineering inspection that goes on the backside of the project, but KDHE groups that together. So that $5 million was on the front side of this. Then obviously we've moved through with inflation and everything like that, so we've went ahead and bumped the number from that 40 up to a 45 to hopefully cover those costs.
So have we already put $5 million into this already?
No, we've put around $2.5 million, just over $2.5 million on the front end of design. The other half of that $5 million goes into the inspection part of the construction on the backside.
On the backside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But KDHE, the way that they design engineering and engineering inspection go into the same cluster in KDHE's world versus design, construction, and inspection.
So it's one pot for design, et cetera, and
Mhm.
one pot for construction?
Correct.
Okay.
So this $45 million ask is for the construction part of it.
Can you share the external contributions that we've gotten?
Right now, we've got $3 million from the feds, another $1 million from KDHE, or two.
We
We're
had
up
$2
to
million
two.
from KDH&E, $3 million from the feds, $5 million from the state. And we have yet to negotiate based on the cost of the final bid, because we don't know how much the plant's gonna cost, what Sugar Creek will be putting into it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we open up a public?
You'll need to
comment?
open it, yeah, you'll need
Yeah.
to open it.
So I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment or public comment at this point.
Anyone have any questions about it? You might want to explain why we're doing this at this time.
Again, the original headworks of the plant were built in 1955. Some of those components are still in place. A lot of the core infrastructure of that Over the years, we've remodeled it a couple different times, the last being in '97, when we put in the belt press. So we have aged out of the plant itself. The permit requirements regarding nitrates, phosphates, all that has continued to increase. We are the largest point load on the Grand Lake. So our permit requirements are increased, and on top of that, we are at our current capacity of our average daily flow. So we are increasing the overall capacity of the plant itself.
With the new construction.
With the new construction, we will increase the average daily flow treatment capacity. Yep.
We can't, the plant's ancient, and it's been very well kept. Just this week, we had the UV wiring melted. It needs to be replaced. They've put a plan in. Matt's been working on this since we hired him. It's just one of those assets. If there's a road with a pothole, I know it's a bad example, we can get by. If this plant goes down, the threat to flood the town from backwards from the plant out is great. So it's not something that we can just ride up till the end until it just falls over and get off of it and keep walking. It's time to take this on. We've got the team we've never had before. We have Earl's and Matt's expertise in construction. We've got Dr. Bailey, who's still around, who's been with KDH&E and been working with them for 30 years. Jay was working on the wastewater and water in Kansas City the whole time I knew him for 8 years. So we have the team together to put it together right now. But we also feel like we kind of caught a break with the pandemic. The design has been very drawn out because KDH&E staff has changed so much. Pete's losing the 5 hairs he's got left, just doing the last couple of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But we're at a point now where when we bid it, which is coming up, hopefully, Matt, in a month.
Yeah, I mean,
We've been saying that
yes.
for a few months, but we're right there. Hopefully costs and interest and those kind of things will be back in our favor a little bit, but it is time to do it. It's been time to do it, and it's basically just because a plant only lasts so long. It's been maintained very well, though. I want to make sure people understand, whoever took care of it for the 40 years before I got here, and Matt's crew did a great job. But it's a regional plant in a lot of ways. It serves a lot of big industrial users from outside of Pittsburgh, and it's important, and we can't risk that it's not going to continue to operate. So its time has come.
And isn't it mandated that we do some different things to treat the waste now by the state? So we have to.
Yes, our permit will be changing. The requirements within the permit itself from KDHE, which is dictated by the EPA, is, yes, those are coming as well. Yep. Just like anything, it's got to get better. But and as long as this process is taken, you have to remember the existing plant. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, over the course of this whole deal, we're talking about a plant that's currently lasted us for 60 years, and probably the next one will do the same. So.
But it'll be a lot cleaner. I remember what Pete Earl told us about the end product is going to be usable, as opposed to right now we don't do that.
We will still UV disinfect with the new plant. We will create a Class A sludge, which we don't do today. The current wastewater, it will be a cleaner waste stream because we're treating for phosphorus, and the biological process will be increased, yes.
Matt said something pretty quickly earlier about Grand Lake and our proximity, and that we're, what'd you call it, the highest point
source, largest point source.
What largest point source means, out of all of that area, we get blamed for anything that they find downstream that they don't like, regardless of the farming and the irrigation, everything that goes on. Pittsburgh's the biggest municipality, so we must have the stuff that's making the water, affect Grand Lake. And we hear it, we understand the chemistry behind it, so we know that's not completely true, but the way this plant will operate in the future, those kind of discussions will be at a minimum because of the level of treatment we'll be able to provide. It'll be nice. And just if you weren't doing the math, it's about 10 million, the numbers that Matt and I were running through of the overall total of the project, which is a big deal. And then Sugar Creek, we don't know where they'll come in at. I would hate to say at a public meeting what their share is going to be, but it'll be significant. So our whole approach has been, what's the least amount of impact that we have to pass on in a rate increase to people. And that's one reason you've been increasing rates the last 3 or 4 years in the utility fees, because now we have a balance of about $3 or $4 or $5 million that we'll also be able to use to keep that loan amount down, because we do have a 30-year note now instead of a 20-year, thanks to the legislature. But this plant doesn't need to be burdening all the current taxpayers. It needs to be spread out over those 3 decades, because it's gonna serve everybody for those 3 decades, so.
And didn't you say, Darren, that we have some ARPA funds that go towards that plan, or?
Well, it depends on who you ask, because Jay's always yelling at me because I always want to spend the ARPA funds on this, and he's like, we can spend the ARPA funds on so many broader, a wide variety of things. He's like, to spend it on this when we can already get a very cheap note from the state. So we haven't figured that one out yet, but when we do, we'll bring it to you guys, and you can decide which funds we're going to spend on it specifically, but that's a good question.
Any other comments?
Good job, Matt.
I'll close the public meeting. And moving on, so following public meeting and public hearing, public meeting, we need to approve or disapprove resolution number 1282, authorizing staff to file the application with Kansas Department of Health and Environment for a loan under the Kansas Water Pollution Control Revolving Act, KSA 1988 supplemental 65-3321 through 65-3329. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 1282. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner.
Thank you, Matt. All right, non-agenda reports and requests. Darren, do you have any other business?
Once again, it depends on if the commissioners ask. I mean, I don't ever want to go before you. So we definitely want to provide some kind of response on the fire station number 2. I talked to Chuck several times between now and the last meeting. So Chuck, do you?
Well, before that, I just want to comment, we hear about homeless and what's taking place in our city, and people come up to public input, and I feel their needs, their compassion for their neighborhood. Things have been said that, the commissioners don't have an answer. Well, who does? I know I have homeless in my property come through once in a while, not so much as they do around Wesley House and different neighborhoods. So, people try to maintain their property. They pay taxes, and, they see things being destroyed by the homeless people, and it's an aggravation for them. Another thing, I'm thinking, this kind of went back when it first got started, the Lord's Diner, and we fed people at the Lord's Diner. We'd give them a place to go in, and when it's 90 degrees outside, 100 degrees outside, they could go in and get a meal. And then when it was cold, they could go in and warm up for a little bit, eat a meal. Because of COVID and some other things, I don't know why we haven't went back to feeding them at Lord's Diner. I'd like to see that happen. I'm one person, that's my opinion. Some other opinions I have on this. One of the places that we feed them at or bring food to them is Wesley House. And, because of that, it attracts certain individuals. Now, not everyone that comes there are wanting to cause trouble, but there is quite a few that come there, and in the neighborhood, they have to deal with this. Today on my school bus route, I went by Wesley House a little after 7 in the morning, taking kids to middle school. I seen an individual with no shirt on throw something up in the air and wailing his hands back and forth, and I'm thinking, there were some incidents that happened last year around Colgan and the proximity of Pittsburgh Middle School. Just my opinion, I'd like to see that site moved to community health campus. I think you could feed them up there, and there's people trained in mental health and probably drug abuse, that if there was an issue, they could act on it immediately. Another place we feed them at is Draymond Park. And I've heard people mention about needles and stuff they have in the parks. I heard people scared to take their kids to the park. So I'd like to see that location moved to right between the city hall and this building. You know, there's a parking lot here. You know, it could be a safe environment for people to come get food, you know, and I just feel like our town has become very unsafe, and not just because of the homeless, because what's happening in the crime in the town. And I said, that's unfortunate, you know. I don't have the answer. How are we gonna solve this? No one does. I think if we, well, while I'm talking about this, I have another thought. We all see shopping carts that's being used by the homeless people. And because of the people that own the carts that won't press charges, I like to see, and I know the city's going around and cleaning up the shopping carts, taking the trash that's in them and dumping it in our dumpsters. I mean, that's resources that we shouldn't have to be using, but we do. I like to see us, wherever the shopping carts belong, and we go pick them up. We got a lot of bills in here for people not taking care of their grass. I'm thinking we ought to pick these shopping carts up and charge wherever they came from a certain amount a month, you know? Dump the trash in our dumpsters, take the shopping carts if they don't want them, and take them to
Recycle.
a recycle center. I don't know if they can use them to sell them money or whatever, but there's gotta be an answer. I don't know the easy answer, but I know a lot of people feeling unsafe with what's going on, so.
Well, I'd like to address a couple of the questions Sandra brought up. The increased existence of ordinances, increased enforcement of the existence of current ordinances. And I think that starts with, and I know we've said it until, you know, we've said it over and over and over. You gotta, I mean, Pittsburgh police have to know about these things. And I know a lot of times, you know, people say, well, I know they're busy. They are busy, but if they're not called and they don't know about it, you can't assume they're gonna read about it in a Facebook post or a social media post about what happened. So there's no accountability there if we don't report those things. And no, they're not always gonna get settled the way that the caller wants them to get settled for a number of reasons. Maybe there's nothing they can do. Maybe it wasn't actually a crime that, you know, they couldn't find a crime to fit whatever offense it was being called in. There's a whole plethora of reasons of why something may not go the way that the caller wanted it to. First and foremost, there's a legal process, and any law enforcement has to follow that, and Pittsburgh Police is no different. But they do need to know, and Darren and I spoke a little bit today. I think it's of value to maybe talk about a little bit about how much Pittsburgh Police has done recently. I mean, and I'm not numbers so much. I mean, to know that, you know, there has been an increased enforcement of, you know, violations. And again, you know, I don't know if people are thinking that the city commission can increase the penalties. I mean, the city commission is bound by enacting misdemeanors. We can't change something just because we want, you know, going through somebody's trash, we can't make it a felony to send people to prison on that. That's just not how it works. So we're bound by, you know, sticking to things that are misdemeanor violations. And yes, they're nuisance, a lot of them are nuisance ordinance, nuisance crimes that people are committing. And it does not settle well with anyone, anybody's neighbor, anybody's family member. But Darren, you want to address, another thing I wanted to mention was, Sandra mentioned taxes going up, and not to be technical, I don't know that we've increased our taxes. Darren, is that right? I mean, the valuations have gone up, which have increased the taxes.
Ours, the city has not for the past 2 years, 3 years.
Maybe
We've
more than
only
that.
increased the property tax, I think, 3 times in the 13 years I've been here. The first one was the first year because we had no reserve and we had to do something. The last time we did it was when the property tax lid came on. We increased it by like a $500,000 just to protect ourselves in case we had to go down. But since the revenue neutral rate has been in existence, and since most of you have been on this commission, we've never increased the property tax rate, but we've always been fortunate.
I think all properties have increased though, right? In value.
Yeah.
The valuations have increased.
The
So,
valuation goes up for sure.
and that in turn causes taxes to go up. But the city is not taxing more money. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people who are giving them free money by not cutting their grasses and taking care of their properties. I mean, that, really kind of dumb. There's 79 people on there who are paying a minimum of $320, $25,000 to the city, when you could just go out and cut your grass or clean your yard up. I mean, that to me is a little bit crazy.
Yeah. The other thing, and I'm not an expert in the parole system, but the parolees, I can tell you, the city commission and city leadership really have no bearing on what the Kansas Department of Corrections is gonna do on parolees. There is a process. They have local parole offices that supervise parolees for whatever the set amount of time is. Sometimes they fail, sometimes they go back to prison, sometimes they get a break on their parole violation. There's any number of things, and again, there's a process, and it all starts over every time something is violated or something doesn't go right or a new offense comes up. That starts the clock all over again on that particular parolee. But as far as them, it's not like the state asks us, hey, how many parolees do you want? It doesn't work like that. I mean, we have no knowledge of where they're gonna come. Correct me if I'm misspeaking, Darren, but they do what they wanna do for whatever reasons that they wanna do it. So I guess the community needs to expand that question maybe
Well, no, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, the parolees aren't controlled by the city. We don't have a city parolee program. What we have done, according to the chief in the last year since January, was taken our criminal investigation division and actually made one of their goals for the year to do these check in. I don't know what the term is they call it, but they'll check in with the parolees. I think they've done 25 or more this year. 2 of those individuals, for whatever reason, were in violation of the law. And so we are, to the extent that we can, policing that, but we are not in the setting of parole. They all are parole officers. Those are not city employees. That is not a program that the city establishes. But it is something that we've started monitoring, and I think the fact that there was 2 out of the 24, and I may be misspeaking, but I just read it today, so I think I'm pretty accurate, means that it's somewhat successful. But parole, I think back to your earlier question, and I try to say this, it feels like every meeting. The city, the homeless people out there are homeless. There's a variety of reasons why they're homeless. Some of them have mental problems, some of them have substance abuse, some of them are down on their luck, some of them just haven't figured it out yet. But as far as I can tell, and I went through this with Commissioner McNay the other day, and this afternoon we went to the Crawford County Mental Health opening of their facility.
crisis stabilization.
I mean, yeah, there's a numerous beds out there, and if you want to know what's going on there, you can check that out. But the city of Pittsburgh, the only agency that I can see right now that's actively engaging these folks is our police department. We are doing it every day, and I know there's always going to be somebody that's upset with the response. I have it on good authority from the chief. I've seen the shift summaries every 8 hours. They do more and more as they can, because that's our number one way to interact with the homeless that are out there. And once again, they're not usually committing felonies, but they're usually involved in some obnoxious behavior, and a lot of it's theft and trespassing and the misdemeanors. We have set up, and when I say we, I mean a lot more people than the city of Pittsburgh, have set up 2 responses in court. One's at district court, one's at city court. Well, that's our best chance to engage those people and say, look, do you want a way out of this? And there's a lot of agencies at that. And so for me personally, since the only arm that we really have, we're not in substance abuse treatment, we're not in mental health treatment, we're all in the poverty business a little bit, and that's why we try to keep taxes down and increase wages and make Pittsburgh a place that there's more money so more people have it. But what we are doing is we're engaging them, we're citing them, we're taking them to court, and then we're trying to get them into these other programs. I don't want that to go without anybody acknowledging how important it is, because we're very limited in what we can do. We can't just run everybody down that looks like they're having we know who we're talking about. But yes, drugs is our business. Trespassing is our business. Theft is our business. And the Pittsburgh Police Department will continue to respond and do whatever they can to keep that down to a limit. But after that, it goes into the courts. Everybody knows the story there. Everybody's got their own version. But I want to be real careful because it seems like we're always at the City of Pittsburgh meeting because we have public input and we're discussing a whole variety of things that affects this entire region and even this country. And the only agency that's held accountable on a bi-weekly basis is this commission and our staff. And I want people to know we take it very serious. Nobody here was drafted into a city employment. We all worked very hard. The police officers signed up to be police officers, and they do a good job. But there's one reason we're in the trash business right now, is because we're trying to clean up the town. And, you know, a lot of these homeless people live in people's dumpsters at night. If you see that, you need to call. It's illegal, but we can't have the 4 people or 5 people that are on the shift think they're gonna find everybody that's dumpster diving. But I tell you, when they create their piles, and they're miles and miles of piles, we go and pick it up. It's a dirty business. It's not something that we want to do, but it's the reason we bought trash trucks and we have our own dedicated trash crew, because regardless of what's going on with the people in the town, the promise is the town is still going to look and operate effectively, cleanly, and safely. And so we're trying to do that. But I do think the police are doing as much as anybody in engaging these folks and trying to get them into a system where they can get help, the ones that want it. But there are definitely people out there. And when I met with Stu on this and talked about it, he drew his own circle and he said, well, these are the criminals. Well, the criminals definitely have our attention, and the police are always working on that, and that's what the real-time policing is going to be about. But the homeless thing is just way bigger than the city of Pittsburgh. And if you don't think it is, drive to Lawrence and drive around for 20 minutes. Get out of town and go check it out. We're doing everything we can, but I don't want anybody to walk out of these meetings and think that we don't have the back of the city of Pittsburgh Police Department, because they are the only crew that's on a daily basis engaging these folks and trying to get them into a system. And in that system, there are people trying to help them when they're in it. But if they're not in it, we can't just swoop people up off the street and drag them in. It just doesn't
It's
work.
not fair to say that they're not enforcing people because nothing's gonna happen, that they're not enforcing the laws because they're not, because nothing's gonna happen to them. I don't believe
Do
that.
we have an adequate force?
Do we have an adequate
Yes.
police force? Well, absolutely.
Do we have enough
Numbers, are you talking numbers?
Yeah.
numbers?
Yeah, I think we are, well, we have a, you know, we usually run right now between, we're just now getting down to where we may have 5 vacancies on patrol, which once we went through the pandemic and everybody quit working, that obviously affected us as well. At some point, we were over 10 to 12 officer vacancies. We've been very, very lucky. The city seems like a pretty decent place to work. We have decent benefits, thanks to you all and the taxpayers for giving us enough money to have a public safety sales tax. So very broadly, yes. Are there enough police officers to keep people from digging in the trash and putting it on a shopping cart and wheeling it all over town all day? I doubt that there's any community in America that has enough people to stop that from happening. And that's why we're asking people to
My question is,
call.
do we have, I guess what I'm not trying to ask is, do we have enough people that there's a presence of enough officers to be roaming the town at any one time, looking and for these people to see, to say, you know, there's a police officer there, I'm not gonna do this, or there's a guy over there, there's a police officer over there, I'm not gonna do that.
I think there are people in this town that are walking around here when we're sleeping,
Oh, I know that.
and they are very familiar with what a white city truck that says Pittsburgh on the side of it looks like, and I promise you they know what the police cars look like. And I'm pretty sure they haven't missed the firefighters and their big engines blowing down the street. And they are, when we're in bed,
They don't
they're
have
out.
police authority.
Well, but
The
they
guys
don't,
in the white
but
trucks
you
and that
can't,
fire don't have police authority, the police have police
and the
authority.
police use their authority. How many, I guess, Dr. Sigley, how many would you want?
I don't know.
I mean, I'd like to have $20 million to fix all the roads in town. We've got 2.5. I'd like to have a police officer following every one of us around and making sure that every part of our day is perfect. And it's not ever going to happen. The reality is we have a very good police force. We're partnering with Pitt State Police. We're partnering with the county. And we have a lot of our utility workers, our street workers, and our codes enforcement people, and they all have each other's numbers and they all have their eyes on the town. But when you are wandering around a community 24/7 with nowhere to be and nothing to do, you're gonna get in trouble. And you're gonna do things that we don't like, and you're gonna act in a way that people don't wanna see. And that's where we are right now in America.
Another job we put on our police force this year is helping as SRO around our schools.
Absolutely.
And that's very much needed. I see Officer Moore there quite often. I seen another officer the other day, and I don't know his name, but you know who was in charge when they were there, because we have adults that take their kids to school, and I'm just using Lakeside as a reference. On the south side of Lakeside is a bus drop-off. On the north side, parent pickup. We have parents with their turn signal on in the bus loop, so they can get out and get in front of Lakeside. That whole street's backed up with people just trying to turn to go to the parent pickup. I see officers pointing at them, and you're not going that way, you're going that way. And that's what should be done. I mean, it might take an extra minute or two for the parents to go around the block and get back in line, but they're there making sure our children are safe when they come to school and when they leave school. So that's another job our police officers have inherited.
Sorry, Steve, I don't know.
That's all right. I'd like to follow up on something Chuck said. You know, we heard tonight how courageous the Sisters of St. Joseph were to bring healthcare to our region. The Lord's Diner and Wesley House are faith-based organizations. They are volunteers. They're living the mission of their faith. So we may not like how they have chosen where they've chosen to distribute food, but I just want to make sure everybody knows we don't really have any control over that because it is a nonprofit faith-based mission. And just to put a little context, Wesley House, from January to now, Wesley House has served 95 unique individuals that are homeless. 30 have attained permanent housing, 13 have been exited out of homelessness for various reasons. They've moved on, they're in prison, they passed away. And that's the activity that's being done at Wesley House. So when you want to denigrate Wesley House, take the time and go find out what is going on down there. How many people are working on this? How many people are trying to help individuals to move from homelessness to a home?
One of the reasons behind moving out of the original place was they couldn't get enough volunteers. You know, we got a whole community of people, but nobody was showing up. I would go there sometime and there'd be 2 guys, me and another guy, to help distribute food and stuff like that. You know, they're just...
Why can't we ask some of the people there getting food to help clean tables? I mean, they probably would appreciate having some sort of a job.
Well,
Have you
you're
ever-
assuming that everyone getting food is
Have you ever
homeless.
worked there?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, my family and I served there probably 50 times. The people that are in there eating, 98% of them are mothers with kids that don't have a dime and don't have much going on. I promise you, that mother doesn't have any time to clean a table or do anything, and those kids aren't gonna be asked. And the other 2% are up to no good. They ain't gonna do anything, Chuck. They're just in there, they're looking for somebody to sell drugs to or be obnoxious to, and that's that same 2% that's everywhere. But that, the people we saw and the 3 years we did it, the pandemic really took a toll on the in-house version of that. That's why it really moved out. But it feeds a ton of people in this community, and everything that I've done in 13 years when I've gone out and said, what do we need in this community? The number one thing is we need to make sure people aren't hungry, beyond anything else. And I've always believed that that's accurate, and that's how we pushed it. I do think the Lord's Diner, obviously, anybody that's providing the services, Wesley House gets a bad rap for the knuckleheads that are out there that are rummaging through and they're looking scary. But for the most part, those are critical core components of Southeast Kansas, is having some programs that can make sure that the kids can get a meal if it's not through school, or if not only through school, it's somewhere else. And I think it's overall been a success. But where it's located is always a big deal, and to Dawn's point, faith-based organizations are driving some of these things as far as location. You know, we're gonna have, with the blessing of the commissioner, and it's not tax money, we're gonna have some money this year for a Code Blue shelter. So when it's real cold, if it gets real cold, the last 2 years, I think one year it was 8 times, and the other year it was 3. But if we need that, we've got $20,000 put aside to say, hey, we can help with this, and it's not tax money. But nobody stepped up and said, hey, we're gonna put one on. So, you know, in the end, what's gonna happen is we're gonna look around this room and probably have to open up Lincoln Center if it gets like that and use our own money. But faith-based organizations aren't doing what they used to do. That's just, service organizations aren't doing what they used to do. It's a different world, and I think we all need to look in the mirror and say, how can we help? Because I know people are suffering, I can hear them talking right now. They're not getting the answers they want. We've got a pretty thick charter. Tammy comes in my office and updates it every 2 weeks. There's nothing in there about the homeless.
All right, anybody else?
We do need to respond to Silverback.
Oh,
We don't need to, and I don't have much to say because it's not my development. I can tell you this, Jan, you're very patient. There's no city money on Silverback anymore. The developer paid us back, I think, a year ago for the loan that you had given him. There are several houses out there going on. I know he also develops in Kansas City, and it's a pretty hot market. Interest rates are up. He's been made aware of his tax situation. His lots were very cheap, and once he put in the infrastructure, and I don't know, the dozen or so homes that are out there, obviously the prices went up, which got him by surprise, but he's been in contact with us. He knows about that bill, and he hasn't been paid. The RID is a program that pays property taxes that the city collects back to the developer as they finish homes. Currently, we're holding on to that money. We haven't distributed any of that money back to the developer because he hasn't finished phase one, and that's about all I know on Silverback at this point.
okay. Any other commissioners?
Oh, if there's none, I asked Darren to have this on the agenda, but we can do it this way. And I don't know if any of you have looked over this Springfield Quality Services Healthy Workplace Assessment. I just wanted to, go over this, have some discussion about it and see what their recommendations are.
So is that the mold study?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You guys introduce yourselves real quick, just in case.
Yeah, Jeff, Facility Maintenance.
Taylor Turney, Fire Department Chief.
Did you have specific questions on it, or just kind of what our general plan is?
Well, I mean, I feel like some of the commissioners, I wish we could have had, and I don't know if you have if we want to do a slideshow, but some of the stuff in this report, I think they ought to all have something to look at other than.
We can make it available to them. I mean, I don't have it, I can put it on a camera here, if you have it. Is there something specific you want to discuss on there, or?
Oh, no, just see what some of the areas
Sure.
that we need to look at, what's causing the problems, and, it comes back to the back that what they found and what they recommended that we need to do, and who needs to do the work.
I'll put that one up there first. I'll kind of explain what happened with the inspection. We were notified that there was some concern over potential mold growth at Fire Station 2. We engaged Springfield Quality, their certified mold inspectors and so forth. They came in and did a very thorough air sample and condition test. They discovered every nook and cranny of the building, up from the attic all the way down to the underneath mechanical closets and
And they
things like
did
that.
what, an inspection, an air quality meter?
Yeah, they have a whole, it's pretty high tech. I mean, they come in and they take air sample readings, CFM readings from the, HVAC equipment and everything. They come back, and then what they'll find is, are we within normal range, are we not? What could we make general improvements on, and so forth. This particular page is the summary, and you'll notice everything is in green, which is the best quality that we can hope for when we get this. You're hoping you don't get a bad, document here.
Can you clear that up, Jeff?
And that's an air quality, those are air quality results.
Yeah, these are the air quality results of the particular area,
Much better.
of the main areas where the actual firemen spend, like the sleeping quarters, the restrooms, things like that.
And how does that compare to the outside air?
It's, the outside air, if you notice, is 14,284 parts per whatever meter cubed from the mold. Inside, we are 1/7 of that is the highest. I mean, we're 2,000 inside compared to 14,000 outside. What does that mean? You go outside, you're exposed to about 7 times more mold than you're going to get, or toxins, or other type of pollutants than you would get inside. And they all fall well within normal quality standards. or
Jeff,
they
can
would
you
be
read
bad.
people are probably gonna have trouble reading the print on the green. What rooms were those?
What you see there is the kitchen, our office, the sleeping quarters, and the bathroom. So that's all the main living areas within the fire station.
So the air,
Air's good.
okay. Now, I think to the rest of it, it's probably where we're gonna be doing some work.
Yeah, there's another document here that, I always put it here. These are some things that you'll find here, I'll zoom out a little bit, so it's a little bit deeper. You'll see that we asked them to even go one step further. You know, how close are we to normal? You know, I mean, are we just on the edge? And you'll notice in all the places where the people are, we are within the green area. There are some things we could do to improve things like humidity for comfort. We're still well within the range of where we should be, but it's a little bit uncomfortable if you get too far. You know how it is in your own home, if it's too hot or humid. And then we have a few places that we would consider to be unstable. However, we don't treat the air in the attic to a point where it's what you would get in your bedroom in the evening. But they were a little bit higher than we would have liked. If you notice, we saw some humidity ratings in the attic, I believe, was at 70% at that time, which is well outside of what we would like for it to be. Which is what would cause some things like.
But but that's not mold, that's humidity.
That's humidity.
That's a cause.
That's it.
So we definitely have some areas where we have high humidity that we need to work on, but we don't have any area inside that
No.
has a breathing threat for mold.
What they found inside of this report was probably our best news was we did not find mold. But they did find places where you could potentially have mold and some general recommendations that would assist us in fixing or alleviating the potential for mold in the future. One, obviously, I kind of talked about is our attic. It's way too hot up there. There's not enough airflow. So we've engaged a mechanical contractor to help us in improving that situation. We're in the process of designing that now.
What is a mechanical contractor? What will they do?
They're gonna come in and they're gonna deal with the heating, the ventilation, the air, and so forth. So if you need more airflow, an air conditioner, an attic fan, soffit vents, things like that, that's their
So
specialty.
those people are licensed,
Yeah.
certified, bonded, probably?
Absolutely. We wouldn't hire them if they weren't.
So anybody who looks at this report, I got a copy of it.
Yeah.
It's 60-some pages. I'm totally blown away by what the report shows. This isn't something that happened recently. This has been an ongoing problem for a long time. So, you know, the quality of the air, but, you know, would you classify the health of the firemen as a high priority because they are complaining about the quality of the air? So are we willing to send them for blood tests to prove that they do or do not have mold in their system? Because, you know, like I said, I've looked at this, I'm just totally shocked by the things that are in here. And we need someone to fix these items. And it states right in here, August the 5th is when this report was done. It's good for 30 days. After that, it's null and void. We are setting at day the 27th right now? So by the 5th of September, unless we've done any work or moved these guys out in order to do this remediation, are we starting over? I'm
Commissioner,
real confused by that.
Well, let's try to get that remedied. So there's nothing in the report that says there's any hazard to breathing, so in any of the living quarters, anywhere in the station.
Are the guys
So what
saying
would,
that they
so
have
what would
problems?
generate, what in that report is showing you that we would want to
Are the
do blood
guys
testing
saying
of our
that they
employees?
have breathing problems or issues? Because it literally is, you know, when you think of firemen, police officers, and first responders, they should be held, I mean, all of you guys are in high regard. We want everybody to work in a safe environment, no matter whether they work for these three or anybody in our city. And I don't want it to be where was ever said that we pushed something like this away and didn't take care of the things that needed to. I want to see us take care of this stuff in a timely fashion and get it to where everybody feels comfortable where they live or work. And, you know, not just firemen, but if there was, you talked about other buildings before. Why aren't we fixing these things. And it can't be about money, because if there's things that need roofs, if they're leaking, we need to fix them. But it should be a priority, it should be a stat priority as far as your health, your guys' health,
Absolutely.
police officers, or whatever. It's a priority, it needs to be, because mold affects people differently.
You gotta remember though, you come in contact with mold every minute of the day. You know, you have it in your home, you have it in your garage, you have it in your car, you have it everywhere. Now, if you have a certain amount of mold already that you're exposed to, and you go into a place that's got mold, you're gonna have mold. I mean, there's no way to get by it. You know, it's just, look, as he said, outside there's 14,000 parts per cubic foot, yard, meter. You know, you're just gonna be exposed to it. I think the very best you can do is do the remediation necessary to make the station much safer, because these folks are then gonna go out to their homes. And, you know, if they wanna make their home safer, I think that's a great idea.
But the mediation starts now, it should have been already in play. We shouldn't go another day without getting the ball rolling and put it as a priority.
Are we not doing that?
We've engaged, the day we received this sample, we engaged 2 or 3 different mechanical.
Are we under the gun time-wise?
No,
Does
I
this
mean-
report
The
become?
report would.
The report's negative,
Yeah.
Cheryl. There's nothing in the report other than the facility is old. The HVA system needs to be repaired and replaced. The insulation around the vents has had moisture on it at one point, by the way it looks, but it didn't at the time of testing. And there's a couple of firefighters who obviously the health of any of the employees in the entire community is a priority. If we thought there was a threat, that's why we had it tested. There's nothing in there on the results that we show that can't be handled in the future, from cleaning, which obviously I'm pretty sure the chief has been putting in a pretty stringent cleaning protocol all of a
But
sudden
the thing
because
that bothers
they
me the
live
most
there.
is, this is nothing new. This has been in play for years, and it just seems like.
What
why
has been in
didn't-
play for years?
Okay,
The tests are negative.
I know, but say like the dehumidifier in the attic with the ventilation and some of these things that are in these pictures, looks like stuff that should have been taken care of long ago. I mean, we're not in the business to want a
Cheryl,
new fire department, but why are we not
We
fixing?
tore down Schlanger Center.
I'm not talking about Schlanger, I'm talking
We
about
cannot
firefighters in the
keep,
firehouse.
if you have a facility that houses the public and our employees that is kept to the level that you're talking about, it would be unaffordable for anybody that lives in this town. We are literally on Lincoln Center every day, Memorial Auditorium, we just did the entire golf shop, we've done City Hall, all the police stations, we built a brand new police station, we tore down Schlanger Center because it was too far gone. I think we should let the chief talk about what's going on at the fire station on a day-to-day basis and how it's maintained.
Oh, I understand that.
Well, then I don't understand your question. I
This
mean,
punch list is too big. All
have
the
you
stuff
seen the
that are
punch
in
list for
here.
Memorial Auditorium?
We're talking about this
It's the
firehouse
same
right
thing.
here.
We
So-
have,
Then why wouldn't we have, I mean, if you said that Memorial needed a roof, we need to get a roof on it to protect your investment. That's the part I don't understand, because
Then
if this was a house that was being inspected by, say, the housing department for HUD specs, I don't think this would pass at all. Why would these guys be allowed to live there if, I don't understand.
Because they found
sure.
nothing
They found
inside.
Well,
Have you seen the report?
No, but I
Have
can
you
tell
looked
you.
at the pictures?
So here, that was my next question is, two of the commissioners have reports, but the other 3 of us don't.
We asked for them.
Well,
They
yeah.
were available, they had
Who did
them.
you
I
ask?
just called and asked for them.
that's why when I started talking about it, it would be unfair for you 3 that don't have.
All you have to do is ask.
So
They
why-
had them
why are
available
we
the
not-
last time.
Why are we not trusting our staff? Why are we not trusting Jeff and Taylor to take care of it? They said they were going to start remediation. Why are we not trusting them?
I'm not saying we're not trusting them, but.
But, yeah,
It
yeah,
kinda
yeah.
sounds that
Huh?
way.
Yeah, yeah.
This problem existed long before these guys were in
Well,
play.
So there's no point in talking about what happened in the past. What needs to happen right now is what we're doing in the future. You presented that last time. You presented the testing for remediation. So why are we?
I just
why are
wanna
we
make
talking
sure
about
that we're protecting our firemen.
I can guarantee you that if we went in your house, you'd have just the same level.
I doubt that, very much
So
so.
Cheryl, based on.
Because see, when stuff happens, you fix it right then and there. If you know there's a problem, you take care of it. This is years in the making.
Based on what Jeff put up, our firemen are 7 times more likely to be exposed to it if they go outside. So we can't have our firemen staying in the firehouse. I mean, because that's where they're the safest, apparently, according to the reports. There's 7 times less mold spores,
Yeah.
correct?
The guys are
That
getting,
is correct.
Than there are outside.
their guys have problems.
Put some
So
pins
from-
outside.
From an HR standpoint, have we seen an increase in staff having to go and seek medical care? Are there any trends?
Well, we're gonna have a
You know
bit of a
of any
HIPAA
workers'
thing
comp?
real quick. I mean,
No, I'm asking for
I
a
think we
trend.
need to,
I don't know of any.
Okay.
I just want to say, after this report was done, and like you said, Darren, they said there was no mold found in the building. Then I asked you this question, I asked Jeff this question. In conclusion, our findings are not intended to guarantee that the investigated site is or is not free from conditions that could pose a threat or hazard to human health or safety. And you said that was, what is it?
That's standard.
Cover your-
That is standard, but what they're trying to say, I believe in that statement, is short of opening up every wall and ripping it out and testing every stud space and everything else, you don't know what's behind or under or anything when it was constructed.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be held liable for what they can't see. Short of a complete destruction
pictures
and
they took-
rebuild, they can't know that. They want to make sure they're not going to get sued.
The pictures they took, you talked about it, heating and air. You're gonna have somebody certified, licensed and
Absolutely.
bonded, look at our heat and air system. You're gonna have somebody, if it needs a roof, certified,
Yeah,
licensed and
if you
bonded.
would like, I can tell you, I've got a pretty thorough plan put in place. The HVAC equipment, due to the age of it, will likely just be replaced in general, because it'll be too costly to pull it out, clean it, and then put back in a pretty old unit. So those will all be replaced.
What
All
the-
of the ceiling tile in the whole facility, including the insulation, just to do the work in the attic alone, it will be cheaper to demo it and just replace it in general, other than trying to pull.
Replace,
But ceiling tiles and things like that, pull the grid down so that the mechanical contractors can get in the attic and do what they need.
So, to do that work, are you gonna hire somebody that's certified,
Oh, yeah.
licensed and bonded to do the
Absolutely.
remediation?
Yes.
And to Cheryl's point, if you don't do it within 30 days, whatever it was, the deadline, okay, we don't have it done then. We're gonna do the work. We should have this company come back in and do another test and see what we've done that's corrected the problem. If
A
not,
post-remediation.
another thing,
Okay.
I don't think you should have the firefighters in that station when you're doing a lot of this demolition work. You know, some of the stuff we talked about, Jeff, carpeting, pulling down ceiling tiles. If there is mold that we haven't seen and we pull it down, those firefighters are gonna be exposed if
Well-
they're in that station during this
The things,
deconstruction.
the things that we plan to disturb, like the attic, that was tested and probed, and they went up and looked, and so forth. The carpet, we can do piecemeal, one office at a time, you know, the
But the guys
offices
still
and so
there.
forth. The only thing that would be a little restrictive would be the sleeping quarters, but that can be done in a day while they're out. Carpet doesn't take that long to put back in, if we chose to even put
you can
carpet
also,
back in. That would
you
be
can
up to
spray
you.
the carpet ahead of time with a mold reliever.
Yeah.
And then pull the carpet.
And then pull it.
Yeah.
All of these things should be able to be done in a manner that is protective of the firemen,
Where it has
the
been.
facility.
But you're gonna have,
But
you
once
know, they have
again-
to be protected themselves.
once again, they didn't find mold.
Right.
They're just getting rid of the conditions that could lead to mold, which is the carpet, the crappy HVAC, and da-da-da-da.
Well, the other
But
report,
the
though, did
danger-
find 4 different molds.
What's that?
The other report that they had done, but reason why we did this
The one
report.
they did on their own with this thing they bought at the Home Depot? I mean, yeah, that's.
So what they identified with that is they qualified the mold.
Yeah.
They actually took it to a lab and figured out exactly what kind it
Not
was.
they sent it back.
But
to
what they
me.
didn't know is what level. And like I think Dr. Sigley, you said a minute ago, there's mold everywhere. So if I take a sample here, am I going to be able to identify a mold source? Possibly, maybe a type. Will I know the number? Yeah. Is it safe? It is. Now we know what kind of mold is proposedly there, which is everywhere. and now we know that it's in a safe level. But we want to make sure it stays that way. So we will do the recommendations in this report post haste.
And
We
then
are
they will
working as
test.
quickly as we can.
And then they will test.
Yeah.
If, to Cheryl's point, if everything on that test that was green was red, there'd probably be nobody in the building, and we'd probably be gutting the whole thing. The reality was, it came back that it's a safe place to breathe air and live. But as a result, they went through and found old plumbing issues that haven't been fixed, HVAC issues, ceilings. So they're gonna eradicate all that stuff in a timely manner, and then they're going to go back and test the whole thing again to make sure that everything is still green, and we'll be on our way. That's should be the takeaway. I don't know if that answers any of the questions, but I don't wanna be freaking out all the firefighters and everybody.
No.
We have a 150-year-old city, and our buildings aren't new. We all live with mold every day. I won't
Well,
get into
right
my
now,
house.
the mold scores are gonna be higher than at any time. Why? They're cutting corn. Do you ever see that
And
black
they're
stuff on
7
corn?
times higher.
That's the mold, and it's higher right now than any time of the year.
Can you talk about the building pressure?
Yeah, so
This
one
is
of the
pretty
things
interesting.
we identified is knowing that the mold outside is considerably higher than it is inside. It's important for us to keep that building envelope sealed. Meaning, when you open up a door and you're on the inside, I don't wanna have just this burst of hot air coming in, right? That's not ideal to keeping the outside air from coming in. I would want it to be in the reverse, a positive air pressure. There were a couple issues in the building that we identified with that. When we fix the attic, we will actually be making some improvements that will fix a lot of those problems, which have led to things like some of the insulation being a little damped from sweating, or a potential roof leak, I guess, in the 80s or 90s, well before.
But operationally, we have a big fan that the
Yeah.
guys set out in the
There
bay.
is.
So the people doing
That's
the
creating
HVAC
pressure.
work are the ones that are in charge of the
Well, the
fan
issue is-
in the attic?
Having worked in fire.
Potentially, we're going to be finding the contractors that will be the best at that skill.
Having worked in the fire station with the apparatus as big as it is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 100 degrees outside, you're gonna want some type of fan or some air conditioning in the apparatus floor. You're gonna open the doors of the bay, try to get a breeze through there. So that's the problem with positive and negative pressure. So how do you fix that problem?
We'll increase it if possible. If we cannot do it with just general HVAC equipment, we'll install like an air curtain over the doors so that when we open it up, you'll get a burst of air right there, which will stop the air from the outside from coming in, or vice versa. If that's what is necessary, I don't actually anticipate
You
that
also
will be a
just,
problem.
you also just kind of have to pay attention. In August, there's crops in the field, they're getting harvested. Probably a bad time if you're at home and you have hay fever, you probably don't have your house wide open and all the wind, I mean, you need to be aware that whatever's outside, if it's 7 times more likely to make you sick than the air inside, you probably need to be aware of it, maybe not have that big fan on that month if you can avoid it, because although it gets hot in the bay.
How are you gonna work in an environment that's over 100 plus degrees?
Last year, we identified that it was pretty cold. Last year in the apparatus bay, we had some actually equipment failures on some of the trucks from them coming back and being frozen because there was no heat in the apparatus bay. Last year, we put heat in. This year, hopefully, we can fix the apparatus bay for cooling. In the past, it had nothing. It was just, that's the way it was when you were there. You opened the door, opened the window.
This is an ongoing problem. It's been like
Yeah.
that for years. I mean,
But we are addressing them. Last year, we got the station heat.
Yep.
This year, we were hoping we could get some good air in there. That hasn't happened quite yet.
So I heard several times about cleaning the facility. Taylor, do you want to talk about what are some procedural things that we're doing?
Just emphasizing our daily cleaning duties, whether it's vacuuming, dusting, mopping the floors, making sure that anything that we bring in on ourselves is, or when we open the doors, we're trying to get that out as quickly as possible. We do have daily maintenance tasks that we are supposed to be doing, and sometimes training calls, those sort of things get in the way. But we are emphasizing, to make time for that. I don't want to take away from the guys' training at all. Training for what we have to go out and do is paramount, but the daily maintenance stuff is still a priority. We're giving this building by the city to use and operate out of. It's in our best interest, the city's best interest, that we do our part in maintaining that. For what we can, you know, the ventilation, the HVAC, that's not our wheelhouse.
Right.
That's, we've
Right.
got to pass that on to somebody who does know that. But we do have our part that we do need to be doing and can do, so.
I don't know where they got away from that, Taylor, because you know as well as I do, we cleaned those stations.
Yes.
They were show places, and we trained also, but
Yes.
we trained in the afternoon. Or if we had something going on in the morning, we cleaned the stations at night.
Yep.
So that's just something that maybe they've got away with from.
Mhm.
You can still do both. You can clean the
Yep.
station, make it presentable. I mean, number one, how many people when they first, and I don't know, people stop by, just take a look at that. I walked through there one time and I was just kind of disappointed, just being downstairs. But I'm not putting this all on the cleaning. That station has had these issues for a number of years. You know, having somebody have some health issues over, unfortunately, that brought the light
Yep.
that we need to do something. And also talk to you and Darren and Jeff, I think, if a firefighter has some issues with, say, asthma, that could be brought on worse by working at that station. The answer was we'd send it to another station,
Absolutely.
but you can't do that. I mean,
Can't do that
what
with
if you
everybody,
got 10 guys that can't work at station 2, what are you gonna do, you know? So, we gotta fix the problem.
Do we need another station? Do we need a new station?
Well, the way that one looks, that'd be a lot of money.
Let's get the wastewater treatment
Yeah.
plant.
Well, I'm just talking about.
No, we know.
I'm just talking about safety and health. And maybe, Don, you could weigh in on, maybe this Pittsburgh United, have they said anything about the safety and health of Station
Pittsburgh
2?
United, what are you talking about?
Yep, there's a Pittsburgh United for safety and health.
No.
So haven't heard anything about their comments? I mean, well, you were part of that group, and so.
No.
Okay, yeah, you were, Don. I just-
No,
Okay,
I
all right,
haven't
so
heard anything.
is there anything else for the good of the order on, with regards to this meeting?
All I'm
tonight?
saying is, you know the problem, you're gonna have heating and air by certified licensed contractor fix that. If the roof needs a problem, you're gonna have a certified licensed contractor. Remediation of whatever needs done, certified licensed contractor. And then we're gonna do another test to see if we need to do something else.
Absolutely. I mean, safety is the number one concern.
That's
We are
right.
moving as quickly as possible.
I would take one.
Yeah,
I'll move to adjourn.
second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.